for those online. And good morning, Jean. Good morning, Jenny. Good morning, everybody on Facebook. Coming in from where we live, we were able to enjoy the frosting on the sangrias this morning. And even though I don't handle powdered sugar very well because it tends to make me cough, it just looked like this whole section of the sangrias had been covered with powdered sugar. And there have been so many beautiful words spoken and so much beautiful music already sung about gratitude today that it's obvious that we must include in our words of gratitude and in our feelings of gratitude the rain and the snow. We thought it would never come this year, and here it is. And I'm also grateful that we received these blessings in the night so that the roads were dry this morning. That is a serendipity. So our theme for the month of November is Thanksgivingness, because it's about thanks, it's about giving, it's about Thanksgiving, and somehow it's about ness, because ness shows up in the ways that it does. Anyway, today I am really speaking about when our gratitude, when our Thanksgiving is almost beyond words. It's almost beyond expression. And rather than saving this for the end, I am going to begin with the poem by E. E. Cummings that is one of my very, very favorites, that I think expresses this very well. Now, if you know his poetry at all, you know that he did not use words always in a logical way, right? But when I was looking at how I was going to phrase the title for today, if I had phrased the title exactly the way he phrases it in the poem, people would have thought for sure that either I or Peggy had made a grammatical error. I thank you, God, for most this amazing day. For the leaping greenly spirits of trees and a blue, true dream of sky. And for everything which is natural, which is infinite, which is yes. I, who have died, am alive again today, and this is the sun's birthday. This is the birthday of life and of love and of wings, and of the gay great happening, illimitably earth. How should tasting, touching, hearing, seeing, breathing, any, lifted from the no of all nothing, human, merely being doubt, unimaginable you. Now my ears awake. And now the eyes of my eyes are open. I can imagine the feelings that were filling him as this poem moved through him. Because when we contemplate the magnificence, the greatness, the unlimited possibilities of the all that is all life and that is our life, how can we put words in any kind of order that makes sense about that? What Patty said and shared, what she both said and then shared in her reading, is so important for us to remember whenever we have something on our minds that is distracting us from this amazing most day. Because this amazing most day is happening anyway. We're just out of it. I don't mean out of it, but I mean out of the day. We've left the building of the day, and we're engrossed in whatever it is that we're engrossed in. And what occurred to me as I was working on this opportunity to speak with you this morning is look at what we're giving up for whatever it is that seems so much more important. Look at what we're sacrificing for whatever it is that seems worthy of our full attention. Now, part of it I know is habit. You know, something happens like the delay on the airplane with the minister whose work Patty read. And man, have I heard a lot of stories about delays on airplanes lately. Even gotten prayer requests texted to me from people who were sitting on airplanes having those delays or sitting in airports having those delays. There was this moment in my life when it was Thanksgiving and I had a bunch of people coming to my house for dinner, and I was doing all the food because at that time I had to do all the food. And I ended up in the emergency room because I won't go into the whole story, but I tweaked my ankle without realizing it, and my ankle swelled up like this, and I couldn't walk or stand. I thought it was broken, but thank God it wasn't. And I remember I was sitting in a wheelchair, kind of in the middle of nowhere. I don't know why. I mean, it was like I was out in a hallway, but there was nobody around. It was a little, but I remember all of a sudden the thought coming to me, whatever's going on with my ankle is going to be okay. I mean, this just was like an incoming. Whatever is going on with my ankle is going to be okay. I am not here for that. I'm here for everybody else that's here. And that put me immediately into such a deep awareness of the good I could do just by sitting in the middle of nowhere in a wheelchair without seeing anybody, without talking to anybody, without knowing anybody's story. I could just sit there and pray, which is what I did. And by the time I was seen for my ankle, for some reason, all that swelling was fluid on my ankle. They drained my ankle, and it was like nothing had ever happened. And it's never happened again. It was so clear to me that I was there for everybody else that was there. And I don't know why it was so clear to me, but there wasn't any arguing with it. There wasn't any, I don't know, maybe the committee had gone on vacation because they didn't have anything to say. It's just how it was. And it was so perfect that I was alone. Not that I couldn't have prayed in a room full of people, I certainly could have, but that I was alone and it was quiet in an emergency room. We don't necessarily recognize the opportunities that are staring us in the face or have sidled up next to us. Sidling kind of goes like this. They've sidled up next to us and they're just standing there, quietly standing there, going, very quietly going, because without our noticing, without our participation, as we notice the opportunity, or we notice feeling nudged towards something, or we notice an invitation to do something differently, to, for some reason, like the minister engaging with the young man. And I was thinking to myself, as Patty was reading that, I was thinking to myself, most people would have engaged with the mom. Mm-hmm. Because at least in my mind's eye, the mom was sitting next to the minister, and the little boy was sitting, Jack, was sitting next to the window. I made that up, but that's how it showed up in my mind's eye. And most people would have engaged with, in my mind, the adult. Rather than going around the adult to engage with the child. How lovely. How lovely that the child was even noticed. That's an opportunity. That's an invitation. Our opportunities are endless. I talk about living in the realm of all possibility. In our spiritual lives. That means all possibility. So that also means the ones that we make up in our mind as being hard. Those are in there too. Because it's like ordering eggs at a cafe. You get to have them the way you want them. You can have juicy, delicious opportunities, and you can have opportunities that are inedible. You know what I mean? Frankly, I know what kind I want. I put my order in a long time ago, and I reaffirm it all the time. Juicy and delicious is my order. I like juicy, I like delicious, I like interesting, I like engaging, I like new, discovery. I like quiet, I like noise. So putting our order in is important, is what I'm getting at. Because since we live in the realm of all possibility, if something shows up that is not a reflection of what we think we've ordered, we need to re-explore what we've ordered. Because what might be hiding in there somewhere is the idea that we can't have exactly what we ordered. For some reason, we can't have exactly what we've ordered, so we have to settle. We have to compromise. Now, sometimes things show up that don't look like or feel like exactly what we ordered, but son of a gun if they're not. Because we may need to engage with whatever this revelation is for a little while to get past what we thought, because we have so many ideas about the ideal outcome, don't we? Mm-hmm. We have ideas about the ideal outcome for ourselves and for everybody else. We're very generous that way. Okay, so maybe that is the ideal outcome. But maybe the journey to that ideal outcome is not what we had in mind. I know darn well that Stephen, he never minds that I use him as an example. I know that he had no intention of having a leaky fuel pump that was going to cost $1,000 to replace. He had no intention about that. But what he did have an intention about, a very clear intention about it, is once he found out what was going on with the car, is that it would be easy for it to be resolved. Okay? I need a new fuel pump, period. And somehow, the opportunity for me to replace my fuel pump will be created for me so that I can handle it with ease. So when we have these and they the first thing that they do is kick up something in us that is like, oh, no. How in the world am I going to handle this? How am I going to afford this? How I can't do this. We need to start over. Because there is always a way. Provision is unconditional. And for those who are struggling with provision or who are watching others struggle with provision, we need to remember that it isn't that provision inserts itself into our life. It is available. It's available. And it is equally available. And when we start with gratitude, and last week we talked about being grateful in advance. When we start with gratitude, what we're doing is we're saying, I know that provision is available. I know that this is already resolved. I know that however it resolves, it's going to be easy for me to handle, and I just need to trust and do what's mine to do. Put one step in front of the other. I have one more story for you from the week. So a very dear friend of mine, he was on the freeway in Los Angeles. I just want to paint the whole picture. He was on the freeway in Los Angeles. Oh, and it was raining. And he ran out of gas. Raining, freeway LA, out of gas. And he, without thinking about it, without applying, without turning the committee loose on it, for reasons that are kind of a mystery to him, he just felt into the car, kind of becoming one with the car, and trusted that he had enough momentum. He knew that there was an off-ramp just ahead. He had enough momentum to get off the freeway to where he would be safe. So he just completely felt into the car and the road. And paying attention to the road with that intensity made a difference with how he handled the car, because he could feel the road telling him which way was resistant and which way was easy. Off the freeway, he coasted, made a right turn where he getting to where he was safe, which was all he was looking for. And right in front of him was a gas station. Not only right in front of him, but he had enough momentum to coast up the little driveway, pushed his car about 10 feet to a pump. None of that had anything to do with figuring it out. In fact, he had to kind of, without realizing it, he had to kind of suspend figuring it out, which he did without thinking about it. He just became one with the process and let the process serve him. It is one of the most beautiful examples of faith I can speak of right this moment, because everybody can imagine it. Everybody can imagine it. Everybody can imagine all of those seeming obstacles becoming participants in a delivery system, a divine activity that was all working together. The gas station in my mind was a bonus. It was like, oh, well, I'm at it here. That's why we're grateful in advance. That's why we can be grateful in advance for this amazing most day. And I can always be grateful and am grateful for all of you. And so it is.
So it is. Oh, wait.
So now I do a little soft shoe.
Ashley, you can't do that. She has her tattoos on.
Oh, really?